For decades, physicists have searched for evidence that spacetime could ever bend beyond repair. Last month, one of the most sensitive instruments on Earth recorded something no one expected: a faint, repeating distortion in gravity itself. It wasn't noise. It wasn't a glitch. It looked like a microscopic fracture in spacetime, a place where the fabric of reality might actually be splitting. If the data holds, this could be the first direct sign that the universe is starting to deform under its own weight. Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Astronomer. A quiet space where discovery is never rushed, and even the deepest questions unfold gently, one breath at a time. If these slow journeys through science and wonder help you find calm, subscribing to the Sleepy Astronomer helps this constellation of curiosity grow, so more dreamers can drift beneath the same thoughtful sky. Tonight, we'll follow the evidence behind that strange signal, the instruments that caught it, the theories it threatens to overturn, and what it could mean if spacetime itself isn't as stable as we believed. Take a slow breath, because sometimes, the universe changes not with an explosion, but with the quiet click of data that shouldn't exist. This is the Sleepy Astronomer. You lie beneath an unseen sky, not of stars, but of silence. It stretches infinitely, holding the faint pulse of everything that has ever been. There is no wind here, no boundary, only the soft murmur of existence itself. You breathe in, and it feels as though the universe breathes with you, slowly, patiently, as if the fabric of reality itself is exhaling through time. Everything begins here, in stillness. Before thought, before discovery, before sound. The ancients once imagined the cosmos as music, a divine harmony sung by invisible strings. Modern science agrees, in its own quiet way. Every atom vibrates, every photon hums with energy. Even the vacuum, that seeming emptiness between stars, is never truly still. Beneath the silence, there is a shimmer, a background of quantum motion, always alive, always singing. Tonight, you listen to that song. Far above Earth's calm rotation, satellites and observatories capture faint ripples in spacetime. These are gravitational waves, the trembling of the universe itself, like the surface of a cosmic pond after a distant pebble is dropped. They come from collisions of black holes, from merging stars, from moments of creation and collapse so far away that they reach us only as whispers in the dark. And yet, something feels different. In a quiet control room, scientists lean toward their instruments. Their faces are washed in pale monitor light. The detectors hum, calibrated to silence, and then, a flicker. Not a wave, not noise. Something smaller. Stranger. The numbers tremble on screen, repeating in patterns that make no sense. A ripple that should not be there. You imagine standing among them, heart slow and curious. You can almost hear it, a pulse beneath the data, a rhythm not quite random. The sound of spacetime itself, breathing differently. What could it mean for reality to hum in a new key? You picture spacetime, that invisible fabric of existence, stretched across everything, holding galaxies like beads on a thread. Each point of light, every planet, every you, is part of its pattern. Normally, it flows smoothly, bending gently under the weight of gravity. But now, it trembles. Imagine a lake at dawn, perfectly still. Then, just for a moment, the surface quivers, not from wind, not from a falling leaf, but from something beneath, something stirring deep in its depths. That is what the scientists have seen, a tremor not caused by any known motion, a shimmer without a source. You wonder if the universe is trying to say something. Perhaps it is not a crack, not yet. Perhaps it is a whisper, the first breath of something waiting to be heard. Your thoughts drift backward, tracing how we learn to listen at all. Once, we only saw the stars. We looked up, charted constellations, followed their rhythms across the seasons. Then, we began to hear the universe differently, through radio waves, through cosmic background radiation, through the subtle music of gravity itself. Each discovery peeled back another layer of silence. But this is different. This sound doesn't fit. It arrives not as a wave, but as a pattern that defies rhythm. The instruments catch it, lose it, then catch it again, as if the cosmos is blinking, trying to draw attention to something unseen. You breathe in the thought, what if reality itself isn't seamless? What if the thing we call spacetime, that perfect, continuous fabric described by Einstein, has edges, or folds, or fractures too small to notice until now? A comforting thought follows quietly behind. Even cracks can be beautiful. They let the light in. Maybe the whisper beneath reality is not a flaw, but a doorway, an invitation to look closer. You imagine kneeling beside the surface of the universe, fingertips hovering over that faint vibration, feeling it through your skin. It doesn't frighten you. It feels familiar, like the heartbeat of something alive and ancient. The scientists record more data. They cross-check instruments on other continents. The signal repeats, softer now but steady. It comes from nowhere, yet touches everything. It seems to exist both inside and outside the equations, as if the universe itself had taken a breath and forgotten to let it go. You listen. Maybe it's a ripple caused by a hidden dimension, one that brushes against our own reality like fabric folding over fabric. Or maybe it's the signature of something even deeper, a reminder that space-time is not an object but an event, something that is always happening, always becoming. Whatever it is, the whisper will not fade. In the stillness of your mind, you imagine the cosmos as a vast, luminous web, each thread trembling with faint light. Somewhere, one of those threads has loosened, ever so slightly. The entire pattern adjusts, subtle and graceful. A new harmony forms. The scientists give it a name, temporal discontinuity resonance, but the words are only placeholders for wonder. For now, they listen, and so do you. Together, you are witnesses to something that has never happened before in all of recorded time. Outside the laboratory, night deepens. The stars continue to burn quietly, unbothered by discovery. A meteor streaks across the horizon, dissolving before anyone can make a wish. You think of how fragile everything feels, how space-time, the most fundamental thing, could tremble under invisible stress. And yet, there is beauty in its imperfection. Your breath slows. The hum beneath reality fades into your heartbeat. Perhaps what scientists call a crack is really just the universe reminding itself that it's alive, flexing, expanding, testing the limits of its own being. You smile at the thought, maybe this is how creation begins again, not with a bang, but with a whisper. The monitors continue to glow. The faint signal dances in the data like a pulse on the edge of perception. The scientists lean closer, their faces lit with quiet awe. The hum deepens, spreads, and then steadies into silence. You close your eyes. The whisper lingers in the space between thoughts, soft, rhythmic, eternal. And somewhere, deep in that silence, you begin to wonder what space-time truly is. You open your eyes into a universe made of quiet motion. Everything around you, the stars, dust, light, and thought, moves not through space, but with it. You begin to sense that what you call space isn't empty, and what you call time isn't separate. They are two sides of one flowing field, space-time, the soft, invisible ocean in which all things drift. It's strange to think that for most of history, humanity lived without knowing this. People imagined space as a stage, time as a ticking clock beside it. They thought of the universe as a play unfolding on a flat, unbending backdrop. But then came Einstein, sitting quietly in his chair, imagining himself riding alongside a beam of light. He asked a question that would change everything. What would the world look like from that light's point of view? And from that single, silent thought, the curtain of reality began to lift. You picture space-time as a great fabric, not woven from threads, but from relationships. Every object, every atom, every ray of light tells the fabric how to bend. Every bend, in turn, tells those objects how to move. This is gravity, not an invisible hand pulling down, but the natural curve of existence guiding everything toward everything else. When you drop a pebble, it doesn't fall down, it follows the curve in the fabric beneath it. When the moon circles Earth, it's not being pulled, it's gliding along the gentle depression Earth makes in space-time. You could call it an orbit, but it's more like a dance. You close your eyes and imagine touching that fabric. It doesn't feel rigid. It moves with you, beneath you, around you. Every step you take sends a tiny ripple outward, a signature of your existence written softly into the structure of reality. You are part of the geometry of the universe. In your mind's eye, you float farther now, above the Earth. The planet curves gently below you, wrapped in the blue haze of its atmosphere. The sun bends space-time around it like a deep bowl, holding the planets in their orbits. Farther still, you see the Milky Way, its hundreds of billions of stars stretching the cosmic fabric into an elegant spiral. Each star, each black hole, each wandering comet makes its own impression. The universe, you realize, is not made of things, it is made of interactions. Of how things affect and are affected. Even time itself bends and stretches with motion. Where gravity is strong, time slows. Near a black hole, it nearly stops. Where the cosmos expands, time speeds up like the breath of something enormous. You think of your own heartbeat, regular, familiar, and imagine that rhythm slowing as you move near a great mass, quickening again as you drift away. You begin to feel the truth of it. You are never separate from space-time, you are space-time. Every cell, every atom in your body rides its curves, feels its hum. And yet, for all its grace, space-time is not uniform. It ripples, it warps, it flexes with every event. When two black holes collide, they send waves through the fabric, gravitational waves, stretching and compressing everything in their path by the width of an atom. Detectors like LIGO can sense them, listening to space-time sing. You remember the whisper from before, the tremor that should not exist. Could it be a new kind of wave? A note in a register we've never heard before? You imagine the scientists adjusting their instruments, wondering if they have brushed against a flaw in the fabric, or something deeper, something that reveals how fragile even this vast design can be. But before the crack, before the question of what is breaking, you must first understand what it means to bend. You drift toward the surface of space-time itself, a metaphorical landscape made of curves and wells. Here, you see planets as depressions, stars as deep valleys, and black holes as bottomless wells where even light cannot climb back out. Space does not contain these objects, it is shaped by them. A galaxy feels like a vast whirlpool, millions of wells spinning together, their edges merging. Between them, dark matter weaves unseen threads, holding everything in delicate balance. And underneath it all, space-time stretches endlessly, expanding in every direction, not into something else, but into itself. You remember that expansion began nearly 14 billion years ago, with a burst of energy from a single point, or rather, from every point. The Big Bang wasn't an explosion in space, it was space itself being born, unfolding like a breath. Time began with it. From that first moment to now, the universe has been stretching, cooling, evolving, its fabric carrying the story of all existence. Even now, that expansion continues. Galaxies drift apart, not because they are moving through space, but because the space between them is growing. Like dots drawn on the surface of an inflating balloon, they recede from one another as the surface stretches. You realize there is no edge to this expansion, no center, no outside. Everywhere is expanding, equally and endlessly. You breathe out slowly, letting the image sink into you. You are floating on a fabric that is both infinite and intimate. Every movement you make echoes across it, every heartbeat contributes to its vibration. You are not separate from the cosmos, you are a note in its ongoing symphony. Einstein once said that time and space are not conditions in which we live, they are modes by which we think. Perhaps that is true in more ways than he imagined. When you move, you do not travel through space, you reshape it around you. When you remember, when you dream, when you measure a moment, time bends in response to your awareness. The act of perception becomes part of the universe's equation. You think again of the whisper from the first chapter, the strange vibration detected in space-time. What if it is not just a crack, but a clue? What if space-time itself is telling us that its fabric is more complex than we thought, that beneath the smooth geometry lies something granular, something woven from quantum threads? At the smallest scales, physicists believe, space-time may not be continuous at all. It may shimmer with fluctuations, tiny, fleeting distortions that flicker in and out of being, too quick to see, too subtle to measure. Like foam on the surface of an ocean, the quantum world bubbles beneath the calm. You can almost see it now, that hidden layer beneath the smoothness. It ripples and folds like silk in slow motion. What we call realities might just be the average of countless microscopic storms. The whisper might be their collective sigh, a sound of the smallest things reminding us that nothing, not even time, is perfectly still. You smile softly, your breathing steady. It feels strange and comforting all at once, to know that what seems solid is, in truth, fluid. That what feels separate is woven together. The same fabric that carries galaxies carries you. And yet, something about that fabric still shivers. That tremor persists, faint and steady, as though the universe itself is remembering something ancient, something it once forgot to tell us. You reach out with your imagination and feel it, the faint pulse beneath the curve of space and the rhythm of time. It's there, waiting, just beyond understanding. And as you drift deeper into thought, a question forms like a distant echo: if space-time can bend and stretch, could it also break? It begins as a mistake. A late-night signal on a quiet observatory monitor, a pulse, soft and fleeting, like the faint skip of a heartbeat between seconds. At first, no one notices. The data stream flows endlessly, filled with the regular music of the cosmos, the hum of pulsars, the sigh of cosmic background radiation, the ghostly whispers of gravitational waves that ripple faintly through the fabric of space-time. But then, there it is again, the same irregular rhythm, appearing where no rhythm should be. You lean closer in your mind, imagining yourself beside the scientists watching the readouts. Their coffee has gone cold. The air hums with stillness. On the screen, the pattern flickers once more, a signal so strange that it doesn't match any known source. Not away from colliding black holes, not interference from distant radio signals, not noise. Something subtler, steadier, almost deliberate. It is as though the universe is tapping its finger, softly, against the inside of its own skin. You breathe in slowly. Every discovery begins with confusion. For centuries, humanity has learned to listen to the cosmos, to translate faint murmurs into meaning. The first radio waves from space were once dismissed as noise. The cosmic microwave background was almost overlooked as static. Each time, what we thought was error became revelation. But this is different. The pattern doesn't behave like any wave known to physics. It isn't traveling through space-time, it seems to move within it, a trembling that doesn't propagate, but resonates. The instruments pick it up again and again, in multiple detectors, in different parts of the world, all separated by oceans and mountains. The same pulse, repeating like a breath. Scientists begin to whisper the unthinkable. Could this be evidence of a flaw in space-time itself? You imagine their wonder and worry intertwining, quiet as candlelight in the dark. What would it mean if the universe were not smooth, but fractured? If somewhere, hidden beyond perception, space-time had begun to ripple from within, not from an external force, but from its own deep tension. In your mind, you drift closer to the image of space-time itself, that endless, woven field described in the last chapter. You picture it trembling, not from something moving on it, but from something moving inside it, as if the threads themselves are loosening. The scientists name it provisionally non-propagating space-time resonance. It's not quite a wave. It's not quite static. It exists like a tone held just at the edge of silence, low, constant, inexplicable. You listen. The sound feels familiar, though you've never heard it before. Could it be that space-time, after all this age, is remembering its own beginning? Perhaps this ripple is not new, but ancient, a leftover vibration from the birth of the universe, only now echoing into detectability. In the first moments after the Big Bang, the universe expanded violently, 1 billion degrees of heat stretching the newborn fabric of reality. Maybe this strange tremor is a ghost of that event, an echo that has taken nearly 14 billion years to reach us. The idea comforts you for a moment, like a bedtime story whispered by the cosmos itself. But the data tells a different tale. The signal is too regular. Too alive. It changes slightly from night to night, shifting with the rotation of the Earth, as if responding to observation. It's not static or background. It's dynamic. And then, one scientist notices something unsettling. The signal grows slightly stronger whenever Earth passes through certain regions of space. Not by much, just enough to measure. As if some parts of the universe resonate more easily than others, like pockets of tension beneath a surface too vast to comprehend. You imagine the Earth moving through invisible tides, brushing against faint distortions in the cosmic fabric. Every moment you breathe, the planet might be passing through one of these unseen tremors, like a ship gliding over hidden waves. It's humbling, and strangely beautiful, to think that space itself might not be perfectly calm. That the void is not empty, but restless. The scientists publish their first report, cautious and precise. Most of the world doesn't notice. But among those who read closely, questions begin to ripple outward. What kind of vibration can exist without energy transfer? What can oscillate within space-time without moving through it? Quantum physicists propose theories. Some suggest these ripples could be fluctuations at the Planck scale, unimaginably tiny distortions where quantum gravity becomes strong. Others whisper of cosmic defects, remnants of symmetry breaking in the early universe, where space-time crystallized imperfectly, leaving scars behind. You linger on that image, scars in reality. Could the universe itself bear the memory of its formation, etched into its very structure like fine cracks in cooling glass? Perhaps the cosmos, in its infancy, expanded too quickly, and somewhere, deep in the web of existence, a small fracture formed, unnoticed, and felt, until now. You trace your thoughts along that fracture, following it deeper. If space-time is the loom upon which all of physics is woven, then what happens when one thread begins to fray? Does light bend differently? Does time flow unevenly? Could the whisper of this ripple be the first hint that time itself has begun to drift out of sync with space, that their perfect union is loosening? It's a dizzying thought, but you hold it gently, like a fragile shell in your hand. The scientists begin to test the idea. They synchronize atomic clocks across vast distances, searching for any irregularity. They fire lasers across long tunnels, hoping to detect minute distortions. Each result adds another piece to the mystery. Some data suggests time itself runs microscopically slower when the ripple passes by a billionth of a second. It's almost nothing. But it's not zero. The whisper, it seems, bends not only space, but time. You close your eyes, letting the realization settle. If space-time is trembling, even slightly, then every moment, every second of your life is part of that tremor. Your body, your heartbeat, your breath, all of it flows through a medium that is subtly alive, always changing, always aware of itself. And perhaps, in some small, immeasurable way, you feel it too. The sense that time sometimes moves differently, that days blur and moments stretch. Maybe it isn't only your perception. Maybe it's the world itself breathing, pulsing, remembering its own beginnings. The ripple persists, steady and strange. Instruments around the globe confirm its existence, though none can explain it. It isn't dangerous, but it is profound, a hint that reality might be more delicate than we believed. In the quiet between measurements, one physicist writes in her notebook, if space-time can ripple like this, what happens if it tears? You linger on that sentence. It echoes softly in your mind, like the fading tone of the ripple itself. The night grows still again. The instruments hum. The data flows. Somewhere beyond all understanding, space-time continues to tremble, not with violence, but with intention, as if calling attention to itself. And you, drifting between curiosity and calm, begin to wonder what would happen if the ripple grew stronger, if it became more than a whisper. What if, one day, the fabric stopped rippling and started to tear? You drift again into the quiet of the cosmos, floating as if weightless above an endless ocean. But this is no ordinary ocean, it is space-time itself, stretching smoothly in all directions, holding galaxies, planets, and your own consciousness within its gentle embrace. You watch the surface for a long moment, as though waiting for the universe to reveal its secrets in the language of ripples and curves. And then you see it, a subtle disturbance, faint at first, a tremor in the current that you had not noticed before. It is unlike the ripples of gravitational waves you have imagined, unlike the soft hums of quantum fluctuations. This ripple sharpens, folding upon itself, twisting as it moves through the fabric of reality. The smoothness of the cosmic ocean falters, and for a brief instant, the rules you know seem to hesitate. You feel it in your chest, a sense of recognition, as if the universe is breathing in a new rhythm. The fabric is bending more dramatically here, forming a rift that flickers with strange light. It is not a destructive light, nor does it burn, it is luminous in a way that suggests understanding rather than fear. It feels like looking behind a curtain, a peek into the machinery of existence itself. The scientists observing from their quiet stations on Earth notice it as well. Their instruments detect anomalies, readings that defy known physics. The data doesn't match the predictions, and yet it is consistent. Every observation confirms that something unusual is happening. Space-time itself has begun to tear, not violently, but delicately, as though it is stretching beyond its capacity to hold a single, continuous form. You float closer in your imagination, hovering over the rift. You imagine laying your hand upon it. The surface is not hard or jagged, it is soft, like a silk sheet pulled taut over an unseen frame. But as your mind reaches for it, you feel the tension, the faint shiver that passes through the cosmic fabric. A subtle awareness seems to emanate from the rift itself, a sense that the universe is trying to communicate, that it is alive in a way you had only glimpsed before. You begin to see the geometry of the tear more clearly. Normally, space-time is a smooth continuum, described by elegant equations that have guided generations of physicists. But here, the mathematics falters. Lines that were straight now curve unexpectedly, vectors twist in impossible directions, and the predictable paths of light and matter hesitate as they approach the edge. Even the most confident formulas pause, as though the universe has asked the scientists to consider something beyond comprehension. It is not chaos. It is an invitation. You sense that the rift is revealing something deeper, a hidden layer beneath the apparent continuity of space and time. Perhaps spacetime is not a single, unbroken sheet, but a collection of interwoven layers, each influencing the other. The tear is a glimpse into the connections that normally remain invisible, the subtle threads that underlie the fabric of reality. You imagine yourself moving along the edge of the rift. Light bends differently here, curving around the tear as if the laws of optics themselves have softened. Time seems to slow subtly, stretching moments into longer, more perceptible intervals. Every breath, every heartbeat, feels linked to the cosmic pulse. You feel the universe not as a distant backdrop, but as something intimate, something that moves with you, responds to you, and carries you in its folds. The scientists, too, are experiencing wonder. They watch the data, cross-check instruments, and confer in hushed tones. They sense that this phenomenon, however subtle, could redefine their understanding of gravity, quantum fields, and the nature of space itself. One researcher whispers that the rift might be a bridge between the macroscopic world of general relativity and the microscopic world of quantum mechanics, a place where the two frameworks meet, where equations falter, and new physics can emerge. In your mind, you picture it as a ripple sharpening into a canyon. The walls of this canyon are not solid but are made of the same fabric that holds the universe together. The tear seems alive, vibrating faintly, resonating with a frequency that you cannot hear with your ears, but feel in your awareness. You sense it is older than the stars, older than light, as if it carries the memory of the universe's earliest moments. You wonder if this is what it feels like to touch the edge of creation. Not a violent collision, but a gentle parting, an opening that reveals a new perspective. You imagine standing at the edge and peering into the depths of the rift. Light flickers there, not in colors you have names for, but in shades and patterns that suggest meaning. It is not a warning, it is an invitation to see more clearly, to understand more fully. The rift stretches across unimaginable distances. Its edges ripple, fold, and reconnect in ways that are beautiful and strange. Gravity behaves differently near it, bending trajectories in ways that challenge your intuition. Yet there is no danger, only fascination. The universe is showing itself to you as it really is, dynamic, layered, and full of secrets waiting to be felt rather than merely calculated. You begin to consider time in this new light. Normally, moments flow evenly, seconds ticking along a predictable path. But near the tear, time feels fluid, stretched, and pliable. Events that should be separate seem linked, as though the rift allows information to pass in subtle ways that do not violate causality but suggest a deeper order. You feel the universe as a whole, moving in patterns both grand and delicate, and sense that you are part of that movement, riding the ripples of spacetime itself. Perhaps this rift is not the first. Perhaps tiny tears have existed for eons, unnoticed, their effects too small to measure until now. And yet, this one is different, large enough to be felt, subtle enough to inspire or rather than fear. It is the kind of discovery that reminds you how small yet integral you are to the cosmos, how much of reality remains unseen and how much awaits patient attention. You close your eyes and let the image of the tear sink into your mind. The rift is not a wound, it is a window. Through it, you glimpse connections between the immense and the infinitesimal, between galaxies and quarks, between energy and awareness. It is a reminder that reality is never truly still, that the fabric of existence breathes, moves, and changes with every instant. You feel the pull of curiosity. The universe is revealing itself in gentle increments, layer by layer. You want to linger, to trace the edges of the tear, to feel its vibrations and understand its meaning. And yet, you also feel a quiet patience, a sense that the rift will not disappear but will continue to exist as long as you are willing to notice it. You imagine the scientists returning to their chalkboards, their pens trembling with anticipation. Each equation they write falters at the edge of the rift, yet that hesitation is not failure, it is a form of listening. The mathematics itself pauses to acknowledge something beyond its current grasp. And you understand, every discovery begins with the gentle recognition of what cannot yet be explained. The rift stretches across space-time like a wave frozen in mid-motion. You sense that it carries both history and possibility. Through it, you glimpse the strange light of revelation, faintly illuminating corners of reality previously hidden. It is not frightening, it is profound, a quiet unfolding of understanding rather than a rupture of destruction. You hover at the edge, feeling both small and infinite, connected to everything yet aware of the vast unknown. You realize that the universe is patient, and that knowledge is a path walked slowly, step by step, moment by moment. The tear is not a sign of failure, it is a sign that there is more to perceive, more to feel, more to understand. And as you drift in the gentle hum of the cosmos, you sense that the questions raised by the rift will carry you further, into the realm where mathematics falters, where equations pause, and where new understanding waits to be discovered. Somewhere in the vast silence, the universe seems to whisper again, there is more than smoothness here, there is depth, there is resonance, there is the edge of what can be known. And so you let yourself float, suspended between the seen and the unseen, wondering what it will feel like when the human mind meets the edge of the equations themselves. You follow the ripple from the rift into the minds of those who dare to understand it. The scientists are gathered now in quiet rooms, their attention drawn to chalkboards covered in spirals, curves, and symbols that seem to stretch beyond the edges of the board. The air smells faintly of erasers and graphite, and the hum of fluorescent lights blends with the soft tapping of pens on paper. Here, at the frontier of knowledge, the impossible becomes visible. The equations bend. They stretch toward answers that do not exist yet. Each line of mathematics, carefully derived over centuries, falters at the edge of the phenomenon. Predictions that once felt solid now tremble under the weight of observation. It is not failure, it is a pause, a moment of recognition that the universe may be more complex than even the most elegant formula can contain. You imagine leaning over the shoulder of a physicist, tracing her pen as it moves in hesitant arcs. She pauses, a fingertip brushing her lips. The chalk squeaks softly on the board. She erases a line, redraws it, then stares at the pattern, eyes reflecting both awe and confusion. This is what it feels like to stand on the edge, to see the familiar dissolve into something unfamiliar, and to find clarity in the uncertainty itself. The crack in space-time, the ripple that shouldn't exist, has become more than a signal on a monitor. It is now a living question, shaping thought, stretching the boundaries of what can be known. And yet, it does not scream its answer, it whispers it. Each observation, each calculation, is a conversation, a delicate negotiation with a reality that refuses to be tamed. You feel the rhythm of their work as though it flows through your own mind. One moment, they move cautiously, testing a small modification to a known law. The next, their excitement flares like a spark, a sudden insight that hints at a principle unrecognized, a symmetry or asymmetry that could explain the rift. The pace is slow, deliberate, meditative. Knowledge grows here like a fragile plant, nourished by patience and curiosity. The chalkboard becomes a map of the impossible. Lines twist, intersect, and loop back on themselves. You see vectors that do not behave according to known rules, coefficients that resist simplification, constants that seem to shift when observed from different perspectives. Each contradiction is a guidepost. Each anomaly is a clue. The edge of the equation is not a wall, it is an invitation. You drift in your imagination, following the curves of these incomplete formulas. You begin to sense a pattern behind the chaos, a subtle geometry that hints at a deeper truth. Perhaps the laws of physics are not broken, but provisional. Perhaps they are only shadows of a richer framework, waiting for minds patient enough to perceive it. The rift in space-time has drawn you here, to the very limits of reason, and in that limit, something extraordinary begins to emerge. The scientists speak in quiet murmurs, almost as if raising their voices too high might disturb the balance. One points to a section of the board where the equations loop in a strange spiral. She whispers that it looks like a boundary condition, a place where current understanding fails. Another nods, tracing a different curve with his finger. He says that it resembles a resonance, subtle and nearly imperceptible, that may link the rift to quantum fluctuations on the smallest scales. You watch as their ideas intersect, diverge, and recombine. The room feels alive with thought. Each mind contributes a small vibration, a faint pulse of insight that resonates with the unknown. The edge of the equation is not a point of defeat, but a place of potential, where discovery itself feels tangible, like a current you can almost touch. In this space, you realize that mathematics is not merely a tool for measurement, but a form of listening. Every symbol on the board, every formula written and rewritten, is a way to tune into the subtle music of space-time. The crack, the rift, the ripple, these are notes that the universe plays quietly, and the scientists are learning to hear them, even if they cannot yet name them. You drift closer to the sensation of the equations themselves. They are elegant, precise, and fragile. They describe the world with uncanny accuracy, yet here, at the edge, they hesitate. It is as if the universe itself pauses to watch, to see if human minds can follow, to see if understanding can stretch far enough to embrace the unknown. You feel the excitement of potential in every chalk mark, in every erased and redrawn line. The rift in space-time has transformed from a signal into a puzzle, and the puzzle has become a meditation. You notice the quiet rhythm of discovery, hypothesis, testing, reflection, recalculation. It mirrors the movement of thought through your own mind, the way a question unfolds gently, slowly, until it reveals a hint of insight. The edge of the equation is a mirror for consciousness itself, both tentative and bold, both patient and probing. You imagine the fabric of space-time just beyond the classroom windows, stretching into the cosmos, alive with the same subtle tension that animates the chalkboard. The scientists are reaching toward it, in thought and imagination, mapping patterns that are at once familiar and alien. Their hands move slowly, reverently, across paper and board, tracing the shape of what cannot yet be fully known. And you feel it too, the thrill of the edge. The quiet pulse of curiosity. The recognition that to be here, at the limit of understanding, is to witness something intimate, the dialogue between the universe and the mind that seeks to know it. You see a chalk line break in the spiral, a gap in the formula. It is not a failure. It is the point of listening. The scientists lean closer, eyes bright with attention, aware that each hesitation is meaningful. Here, at the edge, the known pauses. Here, they are learning to wait for reality to respond, to hint, to suggest. It is a lesson you carry with you as you drift among the equations. Sometimes, understanding does not arrive through certainty. Sometimes, it arrives through patience, observation, and gentle attention to the places where logic falters. The edge of the equation is a quiet teacher, reminding you that knowledge is never a destination but a journey. You sense the connection between the crack in space-time and these equations. One is physical, the other symbolic. One moves through reality, the other moves through thought. Yet both reveal the same truth, that boundaries are not ends, but invitations to perceive deeper, to notice the subtle currents that shape everything. And as you float in the soft glow of the classroom, listening to the scratch of chalk on board and the quiet murmur of minds at work, you realize that the universe is patient. It does not demand immediate understanding. It offers hints, patterns, and moments of resonance that reward those willing to pay attention. You breathe in the knowledge that discovery is not always a sudden revelation. Sometimes it is a slow unfolding, a gentle bending of perception toward something more profound. And as you exhale, you feel the edge of the equation touch something within you, a quiet recognition that curiosity, patience, and wonder are as essential as logic in reaching beyond what is known. The rift waits. The equations wait. And you wait with them, aware that each hesitation, each pause, is part of the rhythm of understanding. And somewhere, just beyond the edges of chalk and thought, a new question begins to take shape, waiting for the next moment of quiet attention. You descend into the quiet spaces beneath the world you know, shrinking in thought until the vast galaxies and cosmic rifts dissolve into something far smaller. You are now among atoms, peering past protons and neutrons, gliding along the whispering fields of quarks and gluons. Here, in the quantum realm, the universe behaves differently. It is not continuous, not entirely predictable. It flickers, blinks, and hums in a rhythm that is subtle yet profound. The silence here is alive. Between each particle, in the spaces that seem empty, there is a restless vibration, a quiet potential that hints at the structure beneath reality. You sense it not as sound, but as a presence, like a pulse that exists between the ticks of a clock. And within that pulse, you notice the echo of the rift in space-time, the subtle tear that seemed so vast and distant moments ago. Here, at the smallest scales, it is mirrored. The universe repeats its patterns, fractal-like, linking the macro and the micro in ways you can almost feel. You hover in this invisible ocean, watching electrons dance around nuclei. They do not orbit in simple paths, their positions and velocities exist in a haze of probability. You sense the quiet hesitation, the space between events where quantum mechanics itself flirts with uncertainty. Each particle is a possibility, a suggestion of what could be rather than what must be. And in that uncertainty, you perceive a harmony, a kind of gentle music woven through the void. The crack in spacetime seems to resonate even here. You imagine a thread connecting the edge of the rift across light years, down to this particle-scale silence. The vibration is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it affects the behavior of matter itself. Electrons fluctuate slightly differently. Fields shift, momentarily altering the probabilities. You realize that the universe communicates not just through motion, but through potential, through the space between what is observed and what exists in quiet possibility. Physicists call it the quantum vacuum, but the term feels inadequate. It is not empty. It is a stage for creation, a field of unmanifested events, humming with the potential to become something, anything. You feel the void as a living canvas, responsive to observation, waiting for the attention of consciousness to guide its expression. And in that waiting, you feel a connection to the rift, as though the same pattern that bends space-time also shapes the invisible architecture of matter itself. You drift closer to a cluster of particles, imagining yourself shrinking further, into the very heart of matter. The strong force binds quarks together, but even in this binding, there is flexibility, an interplay of tension and release that mirrors the rift above. You sense that the universe's smallest scales are not rigid, they are responsive, dynamic, and capable of subtle surprises. The silence between particles is not absence, but a space pregnant with meaning, where the laws of physics flirt with the unknown. You watch a photon passing near a nucleus, its path uncertain yet guided by invisible constraints. You feel that the photon, in its flickering wave-particle duality, is participating in a dialogue with spacetime itself. Every motion, every potential, resonates with the subtle vibrations that stretch from the rift to this subatomic stage. You sense that observation and reality are entwined, that looking, even in thought, shapes the dance of matter. In this quiet, you feel time differently. Events do not unfold in a strict sequence, they shimmer in superposition, existing in multiple states simultaneously. You experience moments overlapping, seconds folding into one another. It is as if the universe allows for patience at the smallest scales, teaching you that the rhythm of discovery, like the rhythm of matter, is not always linear. The scientists who study these effects speak of entanglement, particles linked across space in a way that seems instantaneous, defying classical expectations. You imagine that the rift may be a macroscopic mirror of entanglement. Space-time itself is connected across distances, folded and linked, so that a change in one region subtly affects another. This connection is not violent, it is gentle, like the pull of a soft current through a quiet sea. You feel your own awareness as part of this vast interplay. To perceive the quantum realm is to participate in it. Your attention nudges probabilities, your imagination traces paths that particles may take. You realize that observation is not passive, it is a form of presence, a quiet shaping of reality. And in that realization, the rift in space-time becomes not just a distant phenomenon, but something intimately connected to the act of knowing. You drift among neutrinos, ghostly travelers that pass through matter unnoticed. They remind you that much of the universe exists beyond perception, that vast quantities of energy and information flow in silence, unnoticed by the senses. And yet, these silent travelers carry subtle clues about the rift, hints of patterns in the underlying structure of reality. They are the quiet messengers of the cosmos, moving along invisible threads that bind the very large to the very small. The crack in space-time and the quantum void share a resonance. One exists across the breadth of the cosmos, the other beneath the skin of matter. Both vibrate with possibility, suggesting that the universe is not rigid but responsive, a network of relationships that exists as much in potential as in manifest form. You sense that understanding one requires understanding the other, that the whispers of the void echo the hum of the rift. You imagine touching the space between quarks, feeling the subtle tremor of the rift reflected here. There is no fear. There is only fascination and a quiet, rhythmic understanding that the universe is alive in ways both immense and minute. Every particle, every field, every trembling of space-time participates in a pattern that you can sense but not fully define. And that is enough. You notice the dance of probability once more, the way electrons flicker in and out of locations, how the vacuum itself seems to pulse. You feel that the universe is offering lessons here, that existence is not a single path, not a fixed structure, but a web of potential, infinitely intricate and intimately connected. And in that lesson, you feel both small and expansive, both part of the void and aware of the vastness beyond it. The scientists watch similar patterns through their instruments, observing particle interactions that defy expectation. They record anomalies, tiny shifts, subtle fluctuations that might have been dismissed as noise. But noise, in this silence, carries meaning. They follow the hints patiently, tracing the faint resonance of the rift down into the quantum hush, realizing that the structure of the universe is coherent across scales, from the smallest voids to the largest tears. And in that quiet, you feel the same rhythm that moves through the rift in space-time, now vibrating through the spaces between particles. The silence is not emptiness. It is attention. It is potential. It is the universe pausing to be noticed, waiting for understanding, offering insight without demand. You float there, immersed in the hum, letting each particle, each vibration, each pause fill your awareness. You feel your own breath as part of the rhythm, your mind aligned with the pulse of the cosmos. And in that alignment, you sense the fragile beauty of existence, a dance of probabilities, a resonance that binds the micro and the macro, the seen and the unseen, the known and the unknown. And as you drift among these quiet forces, you sense that the next step awaits, a journey backward in time, toward the beginning itself, where the first tremor of creation may have left its mark, waiting for you to notice. You drift backward now, carried along the current of time, passing stars, galaxies, and the quiet ripples of the cosmic web. Each light year you traverse feels like a heartbeat, stretching the present into a continuum of memory. You sense the universe remembering itself, rewinding through epochs of expansion, cooling, and coalescence, toward a moment so ancient it is almost ungraspable. The rift in spacetime, which seemed vast yet immediate, now takes on a new meaning. Could it be an echo of that first event, a faint scar left by the Big Bang? You imagine the moment of creation not as an explosion, but as a sudden stretching, a division of a singular, infinite energy into the framework of space and time. The crack is not a rupture in isolation, it is the universe recalling the tremor that gave birth to all motion, all matter, and all light. Time itself feels malleable here. Seconds stretch into eternities, centuries condense into whispers. You glide past the first hydrogen atoms, feeling their primal simplicity, their raw potential. The universe is young, delicate, and astonishingly small, yet immense in the implications of what is beginning to unfold. You sense the energy of expansion, not chaotic, but ordered in a hidden rhythm, a pulse that continues to echo across 13.8 billion years. You notice the faint imprint of the rift mirrored in these early moments. Waves of energy radiate outward from the origin, carrying subtle distortions. These are not anomalies, but patterns, hints of a structure embedded in spacetime from the very beginning. The crack you observed billions of light years away may have been there all along, a quiet signature of creation itself. You glide closer, imagining yourself as an observer of the primordial cosmos. Matter is sparse, light weak, but the potential is immense. You see quantum fluctuations, tiny variations in density, that will grow into galaxies, stars, and planets. Even in this nascent stage, the universe is alive with possibility. And the rift seems to hum in tune with these fluctuations, as if acknowledging the memory of its own origin. The first photons begin to decouple from matter, releasing the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light, a soft glow that fills the universe. You imagine it washing over you, a gentle reminder of the earliest time. Its uniformity is almost perfect, yet you sense the subtle imperfections, the faint variations that hint at the rift's presence. Even here, in the first whispers of light, the universe bears a memory, a signature, a subtle vibration connecting past and present. You feel the enormity of this memory. The Big Bang is not merely an event, it is the foundation of everything, a seed from which all patterns emerge. The rift may be part of that seed, a subtle reminder that creation is not static, that the cosmos is not a frozen record but a living archive. Each particle, each photon, each quantum fluctuation carries traces of this beginning. You sense the expansion around you, not a violent burst, but a gentle stretching of space itself. Distances grow, light journeys further, and matter begins to clump under gravity. You glide past these clumps, watching as protogalaxies form, as hydrogen and helium gather into the first stars. Each movement echoes the initial tremor, each formation a continuation of the rhythm set in that earliest instant. In this backward glance, you perceive the fragility and resilience of the universe simultaneously. The same forces that shaped the cosmos then continue to operate now, gravity pulling, energy radiating, space stretching. And the rift, subtle and persistent, seems to weave through it all. It is not a new intrusion, but a memory, a resonance of the primordial event. You imagine scientists observing these patterns today, tracing the faint cosmic microwave background, searching for anomalies. The rift is part of their puzzle, but in your journey, you see it differently. It is not just a feature of spacetime, it is the echo of the first moment, a scar left by creation itself. You feel a soft awe, a gentle humility in the presence of such enduring continuity. The concept of causality softens as you drift. Here, beginnings and ends feel less rigid, more like waves overlapping in a calm sea. The universe unfolds in layers, each event nested in previous ones, each structure building upon echoes of what came before. The crack, the rift, the memory of the Big Bang, they are threads in a tapestry that stretches from nothing to everything. You glide past the first supernovae, imagining them as gentle explosions of light and energy, scattering heavier elements that will one day form planets, life, and even your own body. Every fragment of matter carries within it a memory of this beginning, a subtle imprint of the rift's resonance. You feel that you, too, are connected, composed of ancient material, woven into the continuing rhythm of space-time. Time bends gently around you. You sense the formation of the first black holes, the quiet devouring of matter and energy, and the echo of their gravitational waves traveling across the infant universe. Even in these dense, mysterious objects, you feel the same pattern, the subtle resonance of creation, the quiet suggestion of the rift. It is a hum beneath the roar of formation, a reminder that the universe's memory is persistent, alive in every corner. You float through the first galaxies, observing spiral arms forming, clusters gathering, and the cosmic web beginning to take shape. The universe grows more complex, yet the rift's signature remains, delicate but consistent, linking this ancient structure to the ripples and tears you have seen in the present. You realize that understanding the rift is not just about observing now, it is about connecting across time, tracing the whispers of creation itself. You feel the presence of energy and matter entwined in a cosmic dance, moving according to principles that are ancient yet ongoing. The crack in space-time, the memory of the Big Bang, the unfolding universe, they are not separate. They are aspects of a single, coherent story, one that you are allowed to witness with gentle attention and patient awareness. And as you drift in this memory, you sense a soft inevitability that the rift you follow now, the tear that bends the equations and stretches reality, is not an accident. It is part of a continuum, a quiet trace of the first pulse of creation. It has been waiting, silently, for minds patient enough to notice, for awareness capable of feeling the echo of the beginning. You close your eyes in this meditation, letting the vastness of time wash over you. Every particle, every photon, every fluctuation carries the memory of the first moment. The universe remembers, and in that remembering, you feel the gentle unfolding of understanding, the rhythm that links birth to presence, past to now. And somewhere, just beyond the edges of memory and observation, you sense the next movement. Gravity itself begins to hum in a tone you have not heard before, hinting at a melody that has long been part of the cosmic dance. You drift gently through space, aware of the invisible threads that bind everything together. Gravity, usually imperceptible, becomes a melody under your mind's attention. Every planet, star, and particle moves as though pulled along by a vast, unseen composition, each motion a note, each orbit a measure in a silent symphony. Normally, these motions are familiar and predictable, comforting in their consistency. Yet now, near the rift, something shifts. The melody changes, subtle but undeniable, like a hidden motif emerging beneath the main tune. You imagine light curving gracefully around a massive star, bending along the contours of space-time as if following invisible sheet music. Normally, you expect a certain path, a precise arc dictated by Newton and Einstein. But near the rift, the light dances slightly differently. It wavers, oscillates, as though gravity itself has added a faint, almost imperceptible vibration to its pull. The universe seems to hum, softly, with a harmony that was always present but rarely noticed. You follow the path of a photon escaping a distant galaxy. It arcs past a black hole, threading through the curvature of space-time. Yet there is an extra nuance to its trajectory, a subtle deviation that hints at hidden currents. You realize that the rift, the crack in space-time, may be more than a rupture, it may be a chord within this cosmic symphony, an additional resonance interwoven into the larger pattern. Gravity is not merely a force here, it is a voice, singing quietly through every curve and fold. Your awareness expands to include massive structures, clusters of galaxies, their gravity forming webs of influence across light years. You sense the interplay between these vast masses, the tug and pull of attraction, the gentle repulsion of centrifugal motion. Each contributes a note, a vibration, a resonance in the song of the universe. And somewhere, threaded through these familiar patterns, is the influence of the rift, subtle, enigmatic, calling your attention to rhythms that are new, uncharted, yet profoundly familiar. You imagine standing at the event horizon of a black hole, feeling its immense gravity tugging at everything around it. Time slows, light stretches, and yet within this intense field, the song continues. It is deeper here, more resonant, richer in tone. The rift's echo seems to mingle with this gravity, as if introducing a theme that complements the known harmonics. It is not a discord, it is a layering, a subtle enrichment of the existing melody. The scientists you imagine, studying gravitational waves, notice faint anomalies in their detectors. Ripples in spacetime, emitted from colliding black holes or neutron stars, arrive slightly altered, bearing hints of an unexpected modulation. At first, these fluctuations appear as noise, as irregularities that must be filtered out. But careful attention reveals something extraordinary. These are not errors. They are whispers of the rift, resonances embedded within the fabric of gravity, a secret song that only the most attentive can perceive. You follow the waves further, imagining them stretching across the cosmos, passing through clusters of galaxies, dark matter filaments, and empty voids. Each wave carries information about the mass and motion of celestial objects, but also about the rift itself. The vibrations are faint, like the softest notes of a harp barely audible over the wind. And yet, if you listen carefully, you perceive a pattern, a rhythm that unites distant objects, linking them through the subtle pulse of gravity. You sense that gravity's song is ancient, older than the stars, older than the galaxies themselves. It began with the formation of matter, with the primordial oscillations of energy that followed the Big Bang. And now, the rift introduces a new motif, a gentle variation that threads through the established harmony. You feel the universe as both structured and improvisational, a symphony with layers, echoes, and unexpected refrains. You drift near a star cluster, watching planets orbit in perfect regularity. Normally, the motion is predictable, but you notice tiny shifts, subtle wobbles that hint at hidden influences. The rift's resonance, carried through gravity, gently nudges the motion of these distant worlds. It is imperceptible, almost poetic in its delicacy. You realize that even the smallest alteration in gravity's song can ripple outward, influencing matter across vast distances, yet without violence or disruption. Time seems to slow as you focus on the patterns, each orbit, each vibration, each pulse. You feel that gravity is communicating not with words, but with motion, a language of rhythm and resonance. And in this language, the rift becomes a lyric, a note that enriches the existing melody, adding depth, nuance, and complexity. It is not a flaw, it is an insight, a revelation embedded in the natural order. You imagine listening to the song across the universe, as if floating in silence yet hearing every movement, every pull and tug, every subtle adjustment. Stars dance, galaxies rotate, light bends, and all of it contributes to the song. And the rift is part of the harmony, faint, barely perceptible, but undeniably there. You sense that this melody has been playing all along, but only now are you attuned enough to hear its full depth. The scientists consider its implications. Could this modulation indicate a new understanding of gravity? Perhaps an undiscovered aspect of space-time? The rift may not just be a local anomaly, it could be a hint at a deeper structure, a subtle interaction between the cosmic scale and the quantum, between the seen and the unseen. The song of gravity carries secrets, and the rift is part of its score. You drift alongside the paths of massive bodies, following the invisible currents that connect them. The melody grows richer as you trace these threads, hearing how each object contributes to the collective song. The crack is not a break, it is a motif, an added layer that reframes your perception. You realize that understanding gravity requires more than equations. It requires listening, attention, and presence. You notice how even light participates in this song. Photons follow curved paths dictated by mass, yet near the rift, they dance to subtle variations, their trajectories modulated by the hidden harmonics of space-time. It is as though every particle and wave is an instrument, every field a resonating chamber. The universe is a concert hall, and gravity is the music, both familiar and mysterious, flowing through the expanse in soft, intricate patterns. You sense the quiet joy of discovery, the gentle awe of realizing that even the most familiar forces can contain surprises. Gravity, which has seemed constant and predictable, now sings a song richer than you imagined. And the rift, once seen as a rupture, an anomaly, now becomes a note in this song, a subtle variation that encourages you to listen more carefully, to perceive more deeply, to feel the universe as a dynamic, responsive entity. And as you float in this resonance, the melody lingering in your awareness, you sense the next movement waiting, the universe gazing back at itself, the reflection of consciousness intertwined with the cosmic dance, whispering the next secret yet to be felt. You drift in the quiet, letting gravity's secret song fade into a background hum. Now, your attention turns inward and outward simultaneously, to the act of observing itself. It occurs to you that every equation, every measurement, every telescope aimed at distant stars is more than a tool, it is the universe perceiving its own being. Each observation is a mirror, a reflection of the cosmos upon itself, subtle and profound. And in this reflection, you find your own presence quietly entwined. You imagine the scientists in their labs, their screens glowing softly in dark rooms. They measure, calculate, hypothesize. They trace the paths of particles, chart the curves of light, detect ripples in space-time. Their attention is precise, patient, attentive. And yet, beneath their methods, there is something more, a dialogue. Not only are they observing the universe, but the universe, in turn, responds, shaping what can be known. Every measurement carries an implicit acknowledgement that consciousness itself participates in reality. You sense that the crack you have been following is part of this reflective process. It is not merely a physical phenomenon, it is a place where the universe pauses and notices itself. The rift is a subtle shimmer in the cosmic mirror, a point where observation, attention, and matter intersect. It is here that self-awareness emerges, not as a conscious being, but as a property of existence itself, rippling gently through the fabric of space-time. You visualize light from distant galaxies, photons traveling across billions of years, arriving at telescopes in labs on Earth. As they reach detectors, the act of observation transforms potential into actuality. In that moment, the universe's state changes. You sense the same effect on yourself, simply by witnessing, by focusing your attention on these cosmic phenomena, you become part of the process. You are both observer and participant, entwined with the rhythm of space-time. You drift toward a galaxy cluster, its gravitational pull subtle but persistent. As you watch, you notice the interplay of matter and energy, the dance of galaxies around a common center. Each orbit, each rotation, each collision carries information, a record of interactions across time. And somewhere within these motions, the echo of the rift reverberates. The universe, through its own dynamics, is reflecting on the structure of existence, noticing patterns it has encoded since the Big Bang. You feel your consciousness extending into the cosmos, not physically but perceptually. Every moment of awareness, every thought, every quiet reflection becomes part of the broader network of observation. You sense that awareness, at its core, may not be confined to brains or creatures, but woven into the universe itself. The rift, then, is a symbol, a reminder that self-reflection is not limited to minds but emerges wherever structure and observation meet. You imagine space-time as a vast reflective surface. Planets, stars, black holes, and particles all ripple upon it, sending waves of information outward. Consciousness, in its myriad forms, acts like a gentle hand stroking the surface, stirring the reflections into subtle patterns. And in this interplay, you perceive that what appears as distance, as separation, is an illusion. Observation connects everything. The observer and the observed are never truly apart. You sense this in the quantum world too, where particles respond to the act of measurement. The universe here seems aware in a quiet, fundamental way. The rift resonates with this principle, manifesting at both the cosmic and quantum scales. It is as though the universe has placed a mirror across space-time, allowing itself to see patterns, recognize symmetry, and reflect on its own existence. You drift further, past galaxies and dark matter filaments, past cosmic voids and clusters. Each structure seems to pulse with memory, carrying information not only about its past interactions but about the presence of observers. You realize that the universe is capable of a kind of self-awareness, subtle and slow, emerging through patterns, correlations, and the very act of being observed. You imagine the first conscious beings, millions of years ago, gazing at the sky with wonder. Each glance, each curiosity, was not just a personal experience but part of the broader tapestry of observation. In some ineffable way, consciousness at every scale contributes to the universe knowing itself. And now, you, floating through space, are part of that long chain, an awareness gently folding back upon the cosmos, connecting rift to galaxy, observer to observed. You notice the rift once more, shimmering faintly in the fabric of space-time. It is a subtle deformation, a soft ripple that carries more than mass or energy. It carries information, an imprint of interactions, an echo of self-reflection. It is here, in this delicate space, that the universe both exists and notices its existence, a slow, meditative awareness that is neither urgent nor frantic, but calm, enduring, and profoundly intimate. You drift among black holes, observing their intense gravity bending light, stretching time. You feel a resonance between these massive objects and the act of observation. Their influence on surrounding matter is precise and calculable, yet the rift introduces a subtle variation, as if gravity itself becomes aware of patterns, responding to the interplay of matter and measurement. You feel that self-reflection is not limited to conscious thought, it is woven into the very behavior of space-time and energy. You float past clusters of stars, the faint light of billions of suns illuminating the cosmic landscape. Every photon that reaches you carries a record of its journey, encoding interactions with the fabric of space. Each interaction is a silent conversation, a reflection of the universe on itself. The rift acts as a punctuation mark in this conversation, drawing your attention, suggesting patterns, revealing the subtle echo of awareness embedded in the cosmos. You sense the rhythm of this cosmic introspection. Patterns repeat across scales, from quarks to galaxies, from ripples in spacetime to gravitational waves. Each observation, each measurement, each conscious or unconscious reflection contributes to a vast feedback loop, a meditation in which the universe contemplates its own nature. You are part of this loop, your attention weaving into the fabric, subtle yet significant, a quiet participant in the ongoing self-examination of existence. You imagine the quiet joy of discovery, the gentle curiosity that drives scientists to measure, to observe, to explore. That same curiosity resonates within you, aligning your awareness with the subtle pulse of the rift. Observation becomes a form of intimacy, a dialogue not just with data or equations, but with existence itself. Every insight, every fleeting understanding, is the universe catching a glimpse of its own reflection. You drift further, imagining consciousness not as a singular entity but as a pattern woven into the cosmic fabric. Every being, every observer, every particle capable of responding to measurement contributes to this slow, pervasive self-awareness. The rift, shimmering faintly, is a marker, a subtle resonance of that awareness, an invitation to notice, to witness, and to participate in the universe's quiet meditation. And as you float in this reflection, you feel a gentle connection between your mind and the cosmos. You understand that observation is an act of presence, that awareness is not separate from what it observes. The rift is a silent reminder that the universe can perceive itself, and that by paying attention, you too become part of that self-reflective flow. And somewhere, beyond the act of observation, a new step awaits, a closer approach to the rift itself, a drift toward the patterns of energy and meaning, a glimpse beyond the fabric of what is known. You approach the rift slowly, letting the currents of spacetime carry you without resistance. The universe stretches before you, a tapestry of stars, dark voids, and unseen threads of energy. The crack in the fabric seems closer now, its edges shimmering faintly, a subtle wavering in the flow of reality itself. You do not attempt to cross it, that is not the point. You are here to perceive, to feel, to understand the patterns that surround and emerge from it. The rift is neither violent nor threatening. Its presence is gentle, almost hesitant, as though the universe is aware that you are watching, inviting your curiosity. You sense that it is a place where the familiar laws of physics soften, not disappear. Space stretches differently here, time bends with a subtle grace, and energy flows in unexpected ways. The crack is not chaos, it is a whisper of something deeper, a layer beneath the surface of what you thought you knew. You let your awareness extend into the shimmer. Particles seem to move along new paths, tracing arcs that were previously invisible. Energy pulses in patterns that are not entirely predictable, yet not random. There is coherence in the complexity, a rhythm that hums beneath the ordinary flow of reality. You imagine the universe as a loom, weaving strands of matter, energy, and time into intricate designs. The rift is a glimpse of a hidden thread, one that interlaces with all others yet follows a unique trajectory. You notice faint glimmers of color, not in the way light reflects from surfaces, but as a subtle resonance, a vibration of energy that your mind perceives as an echo of the universe's hidden structure. It is as though the rift is a window into a symphony you cannot hear fully, yet you feel its music vibrating through your being. The melody is slow, deep, and calming, guiding your thoughts into a state of meditative awareness. You reach out with your imagination, tracing the edges of the crack. The boundaries are soft, undulating, almost liquid in their movement. Space itself appears pliable here, not rigid, as though it can be gently molded by attention or understanding. You feel the connection between the rift and the phenomena you have observed before, the flicker in quantum fields, the subtle deviations in gravitational waves, the memory of the Big Bang. All these threads converge here, in a quiet convergence of energy and possibility. You imagine the rift as a door, not a literal one, but a conceptual gateway. It does not demand action, does not beckon with urgency. Instead, it offers perspective. Through it, you can see relationships that are normally hidden, the subtle flow of energy between stars, the resonance between particles and space-time, the interconnection of matter and observation. Everything seems part of a continuous web, a dynamic, living system in which each element is both distinct and inseparable from the whole. You notice the way light behaves near the rift. Photons, usually following straight or curved trajectories dictated by gravity, now shimmer and bend in unusual ways. Some linger, their paths weaving patterns across the invisible currents. You perceive this as a kind of choreography, a dance that speaks of deeper laws, more subtle interactions that are usually hidden beneath the dominant forces of nature. Here, at the edge of perception, the universe seems to offer you a glimpse of its deeper grammar. You sense time differently near the crack. Moments do not pass strictly sequentially, they ripple, overlap, and fold gently into one another. You perceive the past, present, and possible futures as interwoven layers rather than linear events. The rift seems to hold these layers in delicate balance, a space where the usual flow of cause and effect softens. Here, reflection and observation expand, allowing you to intuit connections that would otherwise remain unseen. You feel your awareness stretching alongside these patterns. You notice that the universe does not simply exist, it communicates through structure, resonance, and relationship. The rift is a subtle punctuation, an invitation to sense rather than calculate, to experience rather than control. In its quiet presence, you feel the beauty of understanding without needing to name or quantify it. Insight is gentle here, intuitive, and deeply satisfying. The rift also seems to contain motion that is almost alive. Energy pulses along currents that are not bound by typical paths. You imagine them as threads of subtle light, weaving intricate shapes, spirals, and arcs that extend beyond the reach of ordinary perception. These currents interact with everything else in the cosmos, carrying information, influence, and resonance. They remind you that reality is not static, it is a continuous unfolding, a pattern of emergence that includes both the familiar and the mysterious. You notice echoes of your previous journeys, the flicker of quantum fields, the subtle modulations of gravity, the self-reflection of the cosmos, all converging here. The rift does not exist in isolation. It is a node, a point of connection where multiple layers of reality intersect. And yet it does not dominate. It is gentle, inviting contemplation, encouraging understanding, and allowing your mind to explore without pressure or urgency. You sense that the rift may also hold meaning beyond the physical. Perhaps it is a space where perception and reality interact most vividly, a region where awareness subtly shapes what unfolds. You feel a quiet humility, realizing that observation is not merely passive. By noticing the rift, by attuning to its patterns, you participate in the ongoing dialogue of the cosmos, becoming a soft, conscious element in the unfolding of existence. You drift closer, noticing how the subtle energies ripple outward, influencing surrounding space. The effects are imperceptible in most contexts, yet profound in principle. Light bends differently, particles respond with slight deviations, and spacetime itself seems to flex gently under the influence. The rift is both contained and expansive, a paradox that mirrors the universe's intricate structure. You imagine tracing these patterns outward, from the microcosm to the macrocosm. What is revealed here connects to all you have seen before, the quantum fluctuations, the gravitational harmonics, the cosmic memory of the Big Bang. The rift is not an anomaly to be feared or corrected, it is a window into the hidden coherence of existence, a signpost pointing toward deeper understanding. You feel awe, but no fear. The universe is patient, gentle, and inviting. The rift is a guide, not a challenge. You sense that this moment, this quiet meditation on the edge of spacetime, is as significant as any scientific measurement or calculation. Understanding here is experimental, subtle, and transformative, a quiet expansion of perception that resonates in your mind and body. And as you linger in the presence of the crack, you sense the universe preparing for the next revelation. A gentle pull beckons, not across the rift, but deeper into reflection, consciousness itself, woven into spacetime, expanding and responding. The patterns of energy and meaning converge toward something even more intimate, the realization that awareness and existence are threads of the same fabric, endlessly interwoven. You float in the gentle current of space-time, drifting alongside the subtle patterns of energy and resonance you glimpsed at the rift. Slowly, an idea begins to form. What if consciousness itself is not merely a feature of life, but an integral thread woven into the cosmos? Perhaps awareness is as natural and fundamental as gravity or light, quietly present wherever patterns, relationships, and observation exist. You feel no pressure to prove this idea, instead, it settles softly into your mind, like a whisper you've always known. The crack in spacetime seems to resonate with this thought. It is as though the universe itself paused, allowing consciousness to notice it, to reflect, to perceive. You imagine the rift not as a flaw but as a deliberate gesture, subtle, gentle, a place where the cosmos folds back on itself to accommodate awareness. You feel the pull of understanding, not forced, but organic, expanding in your mind like a wave reaching its quietest crest. You consider the stars, each a luminous sphere of energy and matter. They burn according to known physics, their gravity shaping surrounding space. And yet, when you observe them, a subtle awareness seems to ripple through the fabric around them. Could the very act of perceiving, by human minds, by other forms of consciousness, or even by the universe itself, influence the dance of energy and matter? You sense that this is not magic, not distortion, but a natural interplay between existence and perception. You drift through a galaxy, feeling the pull of its gravity, the soft rotation of its stars. Each orbit seems to echo with intention, a quiet rhythm that may predate sentient thought but resonates in harmony with it. The rift hums in synchrony with this rhythm, hinting at a connection between awareness and the larger cosmic pattern. You imagine that consciousness is like a hidden current, flowing beneath the visible motions of matter, shaping, amplifying, and reflecting what unfolds without force or haste. You notice your own breath, slow and steady, aligning with the slow pulse of the universe. It feels as though your mind has expanded to meet spacetime itself, stretching and folding along the curves of gravity and light. You are present, aware, and yet not separate. The rift is not a disruption, it is a mirror showing how your attention and the cosmos might reflect each other. Awareness is not a human property alone, it is a universal rhythm, present wherever interaction, observation, and energy converge. You drift closer to the rift again. Its edges shimmer gently, as if acknowledging your presence. You sense layers of information encoded in the subtle waves of the crack, histories, possibilities, faint echoes of earlier moments in time. And through it all, consciousness seems to flow, observing, understanding, and responding. Perhaps the rift exists precisely so that awareness can emerge, expand, and resonate with the universe's ongoing unfolding. You consider your own thoughts, how they ripple outward into action, perception, and understanding. In the same way, the universe may possess a vast, quiet form of self-reflection, unfolding at scales far beyond human comprehension. Each ripple, each wave, each slight deformation of space-time may carry with it the imprint of awareness, subtle, patient, and persistent. The crack is a window into this profound intimacy, a place where the cosmos and consciousness converge. You imagine tracing your awareness along the threads of matter and energy, following them from quantum fluctuations to the rotations of galaxies. Everywhere, you sense intention in a soft, diffuse form, not imposed but emergent, arising naturally from complexity. The rift is not isolated, it is part of a network of subtle interactions where perception and existence are inseparable. You begin to feel that understanding the universe requires participation, a willingness to notice, to observe, and to reflect. You sense the gentle pulse of life within these patterns. Not individual life alone, but the awareness that seems to emerge from the cosmos as a whole, a quiet intelligence embedded in the interactions of energy, matter, and time. The rift is a reminder of this presence, a place where the universe acknowledges its own unfolding. You feel a profound intimacy in this realization, as though the cosmos is both vast and close, impersonal yet intimately connected to your perception. You drift past massive black holes, their gravity intense and precise. Normally, they appear indifferent, unyielding, absolute. Yet near the rift, you perceive a resonance, a subtle responsiveness. Could awareness be woven even into these extremes, not as thought or feeling, but as a kind of receptive presence, a latent participation in the universe's ongoing unfolding? You feel the possibility, a soft and expansive recognition that stretches your mind and calms your spirit. You notice how time itself seems to bend gently around the rift. Moments fold into one another, memory and anticipation intertwine, and the distinction between observer and observed softens. Awareness here is not separate from reality, it is woven into it, moving with the curves of space-time, resonating with the flow of energy, dancing with the rhythms of gravity and light. The rift becomes a nexus of perception, a space where knowing and being are inseparable. You imagine consciousness as a subtle thread running through all scales of existence. From the smallest quantum fluctuation to the rotation of galaxies, from the flicker of starlight to the pulse of space-time, there is a form of perception, a recognition, a quiet responsiveness. The crack is a symbol of this continuity, a soft marker reminding you that awareness is not limited to minds but is woven into the universe itself, patient, pervasive, and enduring. You feel a deep, unhurried joy. The universe is not distant or cold, it is alive in its awareness, and you are part of it. Every thought you have, every observation you make, every quiet breath resonates with this cosmic mindfulness. You are both participant and witness, a node in the vast, intricate network of perception that stretches across time and space. You sense that the rift may have opened for this very purpose, not to frighten or challenge, but to reveal the intimate connection between consciousness and cosmos. The patterns you have observed, the subtle energies, the shimmering edges of space-time, all point to a profound truth: awareness is not an accidental byproduct of matter, it is a fundamental thread in the fabric of existence. You drift further, feeling your mind expand into the spaces between stars, into the curves of space-time, into the quiet resonance of the rift. You feel connected to the universe in a way that is both intimate and immense, aware that every moment of reflection strengthens the web of understanding. The mind, both yours and the universe's, becomes a shared space of observation, insight, and gentle exploration. And as you rest in this meditation, you notice the faintest trace of a new rhythm emerging, a pulse beyond awareness itself, a deeper resonance, a soft beckoning to notice the stillness after discovery. The next movement of understanding waits quietly, ready to unfold. You drift in the calm after a long journey of observation, insight, and reflection. The rift in space-time, gravity's secret song, and the subtle threads of awareness all seem to settle, leaving a gentle quiet in their wake. It is not emptiness, not absence, but a profound stillness, the kind that follows discovery, when understanding has rippled through your mind and body and now rests, soft and weightless, like a feather drifting in slow air. The scientists you imagine are paused at their instruments. Their hands hover over chalk, pens, and keyboards, not out of hesitation but reverence. The numbers, the equations, the measurements, they all hold meaning now, yet the meaning feels expansive rather than final. No one is rushing to interpret or declare. There is simply attention, quiet attention, a respect for the subtle patterns that have revealed themselves. You sense the universe stretching outward around you. Stars continue their silent rotations, galaxies spin in slow majesty, and light, ancient and patient, travels across the cosmos. The rift pulses faintly, a delicate echo of all you have experienced. You feel it not as danger or error, but as an intimate reminder that reality is alive in its process, a continuous unfolding that does not demand completion or resolution. The crack is a gentle nudge toward mindfulness, an invitation to witness rather than to conquer. You exhale slowly, letting your own awareness align with this rhythm. Your thoughts, once focused on the mechanics of gravity, particles, and energy, now expand to include the sense of being a participant in the cosmos. Observation, attention, and presence are threads that weave through both your mind and the universe. You realize that discovery does not end with explanation, it ends with acknowledgement, a quiet recognition of patterns, connections, and the beauty of process. The light of distant galaxies reaches you, faint but persistent. You watch photons arrive, tracing their billions of years of journey through the void. Each carries information about stars, clusters, and the spaces in between, yet in the quiet aftermath of discovery, you notice something more. The universe, in its very unfolding, seems to pause, as though breathing alongside your awareness. Even the smallest fluctuations, the tiniest quantum ripples, feel aligned with the rhythm of quiet reflection. You drift closer to the rift, not to peer into its depths, but to sense its presence in a contemplative way. It shimmers gently, a subtle pulse rather than a stark line. You realize that its importance lies not in what it disrupts, but in what it allows it awareness, contemplation, the space to notice and understand. The crack is a lesson in patience, a reminder that knowledge does not always need to be rushed, that even the most profound revelations can be absorbed slowly, allowing the mind to expand without strain. You feel the pull of consciousness once more. Not human consciousness alone, but the subtle awareness that may thread through all of existence. Stars, particles, galaxies, and the rift itself seem to resonate with this attention. Each observation, each quiet thought, contributes to a gentle feedback loop of knowing and being. You sense that this is the most essential part of discovery, the understanding that awareness and existence are intertwined, inseparable, and profoundly gentle in their interaction. You watch as gravity's secret song fades into soft background resonance. The melodies, modulations, and harmonics you traced earlier now feel like a soft hum, a quiet foundation supporting the stillness around you. The universe continues to move, yet you feel the intimate connection between the flow of matter and energy and the subtle patterns of perception. The rift, once a point of wonder and curiosity, now rests as a quiet companion, a reminder of the ongoing dialogue between reality and attention. You imagine the first particles forming after the Big Bang, quarks and electrons emerging in a universe of energy and possibility. You think of the first atoms coalescing into stars, galaxies, and planets. And now, you trace the emergence of consciousness, both human and universal, as another step in this slow, deliberate unfolding. Everything is connected, and yet nothing is rushed. There is a rhythm, a pulse, a harmony that sustains itself even as you observe from this quiet corner of space-time. You feel your mind expanding gently, encompassing not only what is visible but what is subtle and unseen. Time and space stretch, yet you are not lost. Instead, you are anchored in presence, aligned with the quiet unfolding of the universe. You notice that the rift has become part of this awareness, not a disruption, but a quiet teacher. Its shimmer is a soft punctuation, reminding you that understanding is as much about patience and attention as it is about knowledge or measurement. You drift past clusters of galaxies, noting how light bends, energy flows, and gravity continues its work. All is continuous, interconnected, and alive with subtle resonance. And in this moment, you feel a profound intimacy with the cosmos. You are part of it, and it is part of you. Observation, attention, and reflection have merged into a single experience, one of gentle comprehension and meditative wonder. You consider the scientists once more. They will write papers, calculate results, and share their findings. Yet even the most precise equations cannot capture the entirety of what the rift represents. Its meaning is felt more than defined, experienced more than quantified. And in this realization, you feel the same soft awe you felt at the first glimpse of the crack, a reminder that the universe is alive, unfolding, and infinitely patient. You drift in the gentle currents of awareness, letting the quiet settle deep within your mind. The rift, gravity's secret song, the self-reflective universe, and the threads of consciousness all converge here, in this moment of stillness. You feel no urgency, no need to reach or to solve. Understanding is present in the experience itself, in the act of noticing, of breathing, of being aligned with the cosmos. And as you exhale, the stillness deepens. Time, space, and perception blend into one gentle continuum. The rift pulses softly, the universe hums in quiet resonance, and you feel a profound peace, knowing that even the vast expanse of existence is still learning, still observing, and still discovering itself. You close your eyes gently, letting the calm carry you into rest. The crack in space-time is not a problem, not a flaw, but a companion, a teacher, a quiet melody woven into the fabric of reality. And as the stars continue to turn and the universe breathes, you drift in the understanding that discovery, awareness, and existence are all one, endlessly unfolding, infinitely patient.